You have cut the calories. You have done the cardio. You have skipped the sugar, packed your meals, and stayed consistent for weeks. And the scale either did not move or moved just enough to give you hope before bouncing right back. This is the experience of millions of people who are doing everything the standard advice says to do. And the reason it fails is not willpower. It is not metabolism being broken. It is one variable that almost nobody talks about: a hormone called insulin. Insulin is the master switch of your metabolism. It controls whether your body is in storage mode or burning mode. When insulin is elevated, the doors to your fat cells are functionally locked. It does not matter how few calories you eat. It does not matter how many miles you run. If insulin is present in your blood at elevated levels, your body cannot access stored fat. The storage door is closed. To burn fat, especially the visceral fat deep around your organs, you do not need to eat less. You need to flip the switch. You need to lower insulin far enough and long enough that your body shifts from storage mode into usage mode. And the fastest way to do that has nothing to do with counting calories. Today, we are going through 4 specific phases that target insulin at different points throughout your day. Each one attacks a different mechanism that keeps insulin elevated. Together, they create a daily environment where fat burning is no longer blocked. But first, you need to understand why the standard approach fails. Your body runs on 2 fuel systems. The first is small and easy to access. This is glycogen, sugar stored in your liver and muscles. The second is enormous and much harder to unlock. This is your body fat. Here is the biological rule that governs everything. Your body will almost never touch the second tank as long as the first tank is full. And as long as the first tank is full, insulin stays elevated to keep the energy locked inside. In the modern world, most people are constantly topping off the first tank. We eat from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to sleep. We never allow the liver to empty. So insulin never drops low enough to switch tanks. The belly fat stays put while we work harder and harder at the wrong problem. And the cruel part is that cutting calories makes this worse, not better. When you restrict calories aggressively without addressing insulin, your body does not preferentially burn fat. It slows your metabolism, breaks down muscle tissue, and makes you feel exhausted, all while keeping the insulin elevated enough to protect the fat you were trying to lose. The solution is not to restrict more aggressively. It is to mechanically empty the liver and drive insulin back to its true baseline. And that is exactly what these 4 phases do. Phase 1, empty the glycogen tank in the morning. When you wake up, insulin is at its natural lowest point of the day. Your liver has been slowly releasing stored glucose through the night to keep your blood sugar stable while you slept. The liver is partially depleted but not empty. Here's where the critical fork in the road happens. If you eat breakfast immediately, especially anything with carbohydrates, you refill the liver tank instantly. Insulin spikes. The fat-burning door, which was just about to crack open, slams shut again. But if you delay food and move instead, something different happens. Here is the biology behind it. Normally, your muscle cells need insulin to open the door and let glucose in. But during muscle contraction, a transporter called GLUT4 migrates to the surface of the cell independently of insulin. Movement acts like a vacuum. It pulls glucose out of your bloodstream without needing insulin to open the door. As blood glucose drops, your liver has to release its stored glycogen to compensate. You are actively draining the tank without triggering an insulin response. As the liver empties, insulin falls to its true functional baseline. And at that baseline, the second tank, your body fat, becomes accessible for the first time. This is not a subtle effect. This is the mechanism by which fasted morning movement forces a metabolic switch that eating breakfast immediately prevents entirely. The protocol is simple. Wake up, hydrate with water and a small amount of electrolytes, and move. 20 to 30 minutes of walking, light resistance work, or zone 2 cardio in a fasted state. You are clearing the glycogen buffer before the day begins. You are manually accelerating the shift into fat-burning mode, and you are doing it without raising insulin at all. Phase 2, the chemical buffer before meals. Once you start eating, the goal changes. The morning phase was about draining the tank. This phase is about preventing the tank from refilling too fast. We want to nourish the body without triggering a massive insulin response. And there's a simple kitchen staple that does this with surprising precision. Apple cider vinegar. The active compound is acetic acid. Multiple clinical trials have confirmed that consuming 1 to 2 tablespoons of vinegar before a meal improves insulin sensitivity by 20 to 30%. Here is how it does it. First, acetic acid inhibits an enzyme called alpha amylase. This enzyme is what your body uses to break starch into sugar. When you inhibit it, carbohydrates are digested more slowly. Glucose enters your bloodstream as a trickle instead of a flood. Your pancreas has time to respond calmly. Instead of the sudden massive insulin surge that a fast digesting meal would cause, you get a smaller, more gradual response. The second mechanism is arguably more important. Acetic acid increases glucose uptake into skeletal muscle. It directs incoming energy toward your muscles, which are your metabolic engine, rather than toward your fat cells, which are storage. It does show by upregulating the expression of enzymes that favor fat oxidation over fat storage. This is not a passive effect. It is a direct alteration of how your body processes the meal you're about to eat. The protocol is 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar mixed in a full glass of water, consumed 5 to 10 minutes before your largest meal of the day. This acts as a buffer, intercepting the glucose before it can trigger a large insulin response. If your stomach is sensitive, start with half a tablespoon and increase gradually. The effect is cumulative, done consistently before every significant meal. It meaningfully flattens your daily insulin curve over weeks and months. Phase 3. The fiber barrier. Most people think of fiber as something that helps digestion. For insulin control, soluble viscous fiber is something more fundamental. It is a physical barrier that intercepts glucose before it can reach your bloodstream. Here is the mechanism. Viscous soluble fiber, the kind found in chia seeds, flax seeds, and psyllium husk, absorbs water and forms a thick gel. When you consume this type of fiber before or alongside carbohydrates, it coats the lining of your small intestine. Think of it as placing a fine mesh filter over a drain. When glucose from the carbohydrates you eat tries to pass through to the bloodstream, it gets trapped in the gel matrix. It cannot touch the intestinal wall as quickly. Absorption slows dramatically. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirmed that high viscosity fibers significantly reduce the post-meal glucose peak. And because the glucose spike is lower, the insulin spike that follows is also lower. But the effect goes further than just slowing absorption. When this fiber reaches the lower intestine, gut bacteria ferment it and produce short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate and propionate. These molecules trigger the release of 2 satiety hormones called GLP-1 and PYY. These hormones travel to your brain to suppress hunger. They also travel to your pancreas to modulate how much insulin is released in response to the next meal. By eating fiber before your carbohydrates, you are not just slowing digestion. You are activating a hormonal feedback loop that signals to your body it is safe to stop protecting fat stores. The protocol is straightforward. Always eat vegetables or a small salad before your carbohydrates at each meal. If you want to amplify the effect, a psyllium husk drink mixed in water before eating provides an additional viscous barrier. You are building a wall against the insulin spike before the glucose even arrives. Phase 4, reset the frequency. This is the phase most people resist the most, and it is the one that matters perhaps more than any other. The most overlooked mistake in fat loss is not what you eat. It is how often you eat. Every time you put food in your mouth, even healthy food, even a small snack, you trigger an insulin response. Your body does not have a setting for a harmless bite. It has one response to incoming calories: release insulin to manage them. If you eat breakfast at 8 in the morning, a snack at 10, lunch at 1, another snack at 4, and dinner at 7, your insulin never returns to its true baseline. You are holding the storage switch in the on position for 14 hours every single day. And then you wonder why you cannot access your fat stores. To understand why this matters so specifically, you need to understand the relationship between 2 opposing hormones. Insulin is the storage hormone. Its job is to take incoming energy and direct it into cells for storage or use. Glucagon is the mobilization hormone. Its job is to release stored energy when the body needs it. These two hormones cannot both be elevated at the same time. They sit on opposite ends of a metabolic seesaw. When you snack constantly, insulin stays high and glucagon stays suppressed. Your body never receives the signal to unlock and release stored fat. The switch never flips. There is a second mechanism that makes constant eating even more disruptive. When you stop eating for at least 4 hours between meals, your digestive tract initiates a process called the migrating motor complex. This is a cleansing wave that sweeps through your intestines, clearing undigested material and harmful bacteria. It is your body's built-in maintenance cycle, but it only activates when insulin is low. Every time you snack, you spike insulin, suppress glucagon, and interrupt this internal cleaning process. You are trading away your body's maintenance cycle for a snack that likely did not even satisfy real hunger. The protocol here is simple but requires a genuine shift in mindset. Eat 2 or 3 substantial, satisfying meals per day. Eat until you are genuinely full. Then close the kitchen until your next meal. No snacks between meals. No small bites. No just a taste. No healthy exceptions. This is not about suffering. It is about giving insulin the space to fall far enough and long enough that glucagon can rise. That is when the fat stores open. That is when visceral fat becomes accessible. Now let's bring all 4 phases together into a single picture. Fasted morning movement drains the liver glycogen that keeps insulin propped up from the night before. Apple cider vinegar before your largest meal blunts the glucose flood that would cause the next major insulin spike. Fiber before carbohydrates builds a physical barrier that slows glucose absorption and activates hormonal signals that suppress the insulin response further. And eliminating snacks between meals gives insulin the extended quiet period it needs to return to true baseline. These 4 phases are not competing strategies. They are targeting different moments in your day where insulin would otherwise spike, stay elevated, or prevent the metabolic switch from flipping. Applied together, they compress the number of daily hours your insulin stays elevated from 14 or more down to a fraction of that. And every hour your insulin is at genuine baseline is an hour your body has access to fat stores it has been locking away. Here is the honest framing that most people need to hear. If you are trying to lose fat while insulin is chronically high, you are driving with the handbrake engaged. You can press the accelerator as hard as you want. You can cut calories, add cardio, restrict more aggressively. But you will not go where you want to go, and you will wear yourself down trying. When you lower insulin, the handbrake releases. Fat loss stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like the natural result of a metabolism that is finally working the way it was designed to. Your body wants to be lean. It is built to efficiently access and burn stored fat. It just needs you to stop flooding it with a signal to store. Lower the insulin, clear the path, and let the process do what it was always capable of doing. If this gave you a clearer picture of why insulin is the real lever and how to pull it, hit that like button. And tell me in the comments, which of these 4 phases do you think is the one you have been missing most? Because identifying the right lever is the first step to finally pulling it. Most people spend years fighting their body's fat storage without ever addressing the signal driving it. You now understand what that signal is, where it comes from, and 4 specific ways to change it starting today. The body is not your enemy here. It has been following the instructions it was given. Change the instructions and the results will follow.